The aroma of slow-cooked brisket and expensive cigar smoke hung thick in the Austin air, a familiar perfume for the annual Volkov Development's Father's Day barbecue. Friends, longtime partners, and city council members mingled on the sprawling lawn of my redwood estate, their laughter a dull roar under the Texas sun. I adjusted my cuffs, feeling the starched cotton press against my skin, a familiar comfort. "Emmett! Another triumph!" Martin Calloway, my accountant, boomed, raising his glass. "To the man who built half this city." I smiled and inclined my head, my eyes scanning the crowd. "We built it together, Martin. Enjoy the food." My gaze kept drifting to the wrought iron gate. Sylvia, my daughter, was running late. Stuck in surgery, according to her last text. But it wasn't just her I was looking for. It was Donovan, my son. A ripple of silence moved through the party, starting near the gate. It wasn't a respectful hush. It was the sound of 100 conversations stalling at once. I turned. Donovan was here. He stumbled through the gate, his linen shirt hopelessly wrinkled and stained. His hair was a wreck, and his eyes, when they found mine, were bloodshot and wild. He wasn't just late. He was drunk. "Donovan," I said, my voice low as I moved to intercept him before he reached the main patio. "Dad," he slurred, pushing past a state senator. "Big party, big party. Celebrating. What are we celebrating? Your money?" "You're making a scene," I said, grabbing his arm. His skin was damp. "I'm the scene?" He ripped his arm from my grasp. "That's good. That's really good, Dad." Behind him, his wife, Sabrina, glided onto the lawn. She was the picture of cool elegance, not a single blonde hair out of place. She didn't look flustered or embarrassed. She just watched him, her arms crossed, a detached observer. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. I steered Donovan toward the privacy of the rose garden, Adeline's old sanctuary. The scent of blooming roses was a stark contrast to the smell of whiskey rolling off my son. "What is this, Donovan? After everything, you show up here like this?" He spun on me, his face a mask of desperation and fury. "I need money, Dad, right now. We're not having this conversation. Not here. Not while you're in this state. Go home. Sleep it off. Come to my office tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" He laughed, a harsh barking sound. "There is no tomorrow. Don't you get it? I'm ruined. You have to help me." "Help you? I've been helping you your entire life. I gave you a position at Volkov Developments, a generous salary for a job you barely do. I paid off your last bad investment. There's a limit." "This is different," he roared, jabbing a finger at my chest. "This isn't some investment. These people, they don't play." "Then you should have thought of that before you got involved with them. I'm not bailing you out this time." You stubborn old bastard," his voice cracked. "I need $400,000, not tomorrow, tonight, or I'm finished." "The answer is no," I said, my voice as cold and hard as I could make it. "You're done embarrassing this family for one day. Leave." I turned to walk back to my guests, my heart hammering against my ribs. I heard the scrape of a shoe on the gravel path behind me, then a sharp clink of glass. I turned back just as Donovan swung. He wasn't aiming for my shoulder. He was aiming for my head. He had grabbed a full bottle of Cabernet from the catering table. I tried to raise my arm, but I was too slow. The bottle connected with my temple. The sound was a dull, wet thud, followed by the explosive shatter of dark green glass. The force sent me staggering back into a trellis. Pain, sharp and blinding, exploded behind my eyes. I felt something warm and thick gushing down my face, obscuring my vision. The garden went utterly silent. I could hear a fork drop on the distant patio. Donovan stood there, his chest heaving, the jagged neck of the bottle still clutched in his hand. "Donovan!" someone screamed. I wiped the blood and wine from my eyes, blinking to clear my vision. I saw Martin and a few other men starting to run toward us, but what I saw most clearly was Sabrina. She hadn't moved. She stood just inside the garden archway watching. There was no horror on her face, no shock, no concern for her husband or for me. She was smiling. It was a faint, tight smile, the kind of expression one has when a meticulously planned presentation goes off without a hitch. She looked satisfied. "It's fine," I yelled, my voice cracking. I held up a hand to stop the men running toward me. It's nothing. An accident." Donovan dropped the bottleneck as if it had burned him. His face, which had been contorted in rage, was now pale with a sudden dawning horror. "Dad, I didn't—" "Get out," I whispered, my voice trembling with a coldness that had nothing to do with the pain. "Get out. Now." He stumbled backward, turned, and ran, pushing past the shocked guests and disappearing through the gate. Sabrina watched him go, her smile vanishing, replaced by a mask of perfect wifely concern. She rushed to my side. "Emmett! Oh my God! Are you all right? He's been under so much pressure." I looked at her, the blood dripping onto my white shirt. "I'm fine, Sabrina. Go after your husband." She held my gaze for a fraction of a second too long, her eyes cold and calculating, before she nodded and hurried away. Just as she left, my daughter Sylvia's car screeched to a halt in the drive. She ran onto the lawn, still in her blue surgical scrubs, and froze. "Dad? Oh my God. Dad!" What happened? She was at my side in an instant, her doctor's hands gently probing the gash on my temple. The party was over. Guests were leaving in a panicked, whispering exodus. "It's deep," Sylvia said, her voice tight with professional calm, but her hands were shaking. "You need stitches. Now." As she led me inside, I glanced back at the garden. A dark pool of wine and blood was soaking into the grass. Shards of glass glittered like dark jewels. Later that night, after Sylvia had stitched the wound and given me a sedative I didn't take, I sat alone in my study. The house was silent. I stared at the reflection in the dark window, an old man with a bandaged head. I thought of Donovan as a boy, so full of laughter, before my wife Adeline died. Her death had broken something in him. But this wasn't just grief. The desperation in his eyes, the specific sum, and Sabrina's cold, triumphant smile. This wasn't a drunken outburst. It was a performance. It was a move in a game I didn't know I was playing. I touched the stinging wound on my temple. The glass was a gift. It had shown me the truth. "All right, Donovan. All right, Sabrina," I whispered to the empty room. "You've declared war. You just don't know that I'm going to finish it." The next morning, the sun streamed into my office at Volkov Developments, mocking the throbbing pain in my head. I'd been at my desk since 5 a.m. The coffee tasted like ash. At 8:01 a.m., I buzzed my assistant. "Get me Martin Calloway, in my office, now." Martin, my accountant for 30 years, walked in, his face a mixture of concern and pity. "Emmett, I heard what happened. Are you all right? Should you even be here?" "I'm fine, Martin. I cut him off. I need you to do something for me, and it stays between us. Understood? His expression shifted. The friend was gone, replaced by the professional. Of course. I want a full, discrete audit of every subsidiary account Donovan has access to. Payroll, expenses, project development, everything. I want to know every dollar he's touched for the last 18 months. Martin's eyebrows shot up. Donovan? Emmett, I'm sure it's just... I'm not, I said, my voice flat. I'm not sure of anything. I want to know where $400,000 could have gone. Or why he thinks he needs it? Martin nodded slowly, the gravity of the request settling on him. I'll start immediately. It will be invisible. I'll pull the server logs from my home terminal tonight. Good. I want the report on my desk as soon as you find anything. Anything at all. He left, closing the door softly behind him. I leaned back, the leather of my chair groaning. The first thread was pulled. Now to see what unraveled. It took Martin 2 days. He appeared at my office door late Wednesday looking pale. He didn't knock. He just walked in and shut the door. You were right to look, he said, his voice barely a whisper. He slid a thin file across my desk. It's not $400,000, not yet, but it's a start. I opened the file. A list of wire transfers, 5,000 here, 10,000 there. All from a project development account for a high-rise we hadn't even broken ground on. The total is $30,000, Martin said. All in the last 6 weeks. All authorized by Donovan's digital signature. To who? A shell corporation. Griffin's Mark LLC. It has no assets, no history. It was incorporated 2 months ago by a third party. I stared at the name. It meant nothing. Thank you, Martin. Keep digging, quietly. I summoned Donovan to my office that afternoon. He walked in, sober this time, dressed in an expensive suit. He looked contrite, his eyes downcast. Dad, about Sunday, I can't tell you how sorry I am. I don't know what came over me. I held up a hand. We'll get to that. First, I want to talk about this. I slid the file across the desk. He looked at it, and for a split second, I saw panic flash in his eyes. But it was gone as fast as it appeared. He composed himself, even managing a small, sheepish smile. Oh, that. Look, I was going to tell you. Tell me what? What is Griffin's Mark? It's a restaurant project, he said, his confidence growing. A new high-end chain. Sabrina's family has contacts. We were trying to get it off the ground to build something of our own. I borrowed from the project account for startup costs. I was going to pay it back as soon as we got our first round of funding. He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a stack of invoices. Griffin's Mark LLC. Payments for consulting, market research, vendor deposits. It all looked plausible. It was too plausible. Too clean. A restaurant, I said, leaning back. That's a bold move. We just want to prove we can do it, Dad. That I'm not, you know, a failure. I finished for him. He nodded, the picture of a repentant son just trying to make his father proud. It was a masterful performance. He'd had this lie ready to go. Get out of my office, Donovan. We'll discuss your future at the company later. He practically bounced out, a wave of relief washing off him. The moment the door clicked shut, I picked up my private line. The Viridian Lounge was a dark, quiet bar in a forgotten part of downtown Austin. It smelled of old wood and spilled bourbon. Gregory Roth sat in a back booth, nursing a club soda. He looked exactly as he had 10 years ago when I'd used him to vet a potential corporate merger. Rumpled suit, tired eyes, and a stillness that missed nothing. "Emmett," he said, not standing up. "It's been a long time. You look like hell. Heard you had a rough weekend." "The whole city heard, Gregory. That's why I'm here." I sat down. A waitress appeared. "Coffee?" "Black." "So," Gregory said, opening a small, worn notebook. "Your son, Donovan Volkov, and his wife, Sabrina Thorne. What am I looking for?" "Everything," I said, my voice low. "I want to know where he goes, who he talks to, and where his money is going. I want to know about her family, her friends, her past. I have a shell company I want you to crack." I slid the Griffin's Mark file across the table. "He says it's a restaurant. I say it's a lie." Gregory glanced at the papers, his eyes scanning them with practiced speed. "Restaurant. Right. And $400,000 is a lot for an appetizer." My head snapped up. "How did you—" "You're not the only one with sources, Emmett. Word's out in certain circles that Donovan Volkov is in deep. The number $400,000 is attached to his name." He tapped the file. "This $30,000 is just the tip. I'll start with this LLC, and I'll put a tail on both of them. It's going to be expensive." "I don't care about the cost," I said, tossing a retainer check on the table. "I want the truth. I want to know who is pulling my son's strings." Gregory looked at the check, then at me. "You're sure you want to turn this rock over, Emmett? Sometimes it's better to just let it lie." "I'm sure." He pocketed the check. "I'll be in touch." I was in my study at the Redwood Estate 3 days later, reviewing the first set of blueprints for a new downtown library, when my housekeeper buzzed me. "Mr. Volkov, your daughter-in-law, Sabrina, is here to see you." My hand tightened on my pen. "Send her in." Sabrina swept into the room, all smiles and apologies. She carried a bakery box. "Emmett, I feel just awful. I brought you some lemon tarts. I know they're your favorite." "Thank you, Sabrina. That's very thoughtful." I didn't motion for her to sit. "What's on your mind?" I had to come and apologize in person for Donovan's episode." She placed a manicured hand on her heart. "He's just so stressed. He's trying so hard to build something, to make you proud." "Ah, yes. The restaurant. Griffin's Mark." Her eyes lit up, a bright, artificial shine. "You know about it." "Oh, I'm so glad he told you. It's an incredible opportunity, Emmett. Truly. We have projections." She reached into her oversized $1,000 handbag and pulled out a glossy, leather-bound proposal. "Griffin's Mark. An elevated dining experience. He told me he borrowed $30,000 from the company. A short-term loan, just to secure the vendors, which brings me to why I'm here." She sat, uninvited, on the edge of the leather sofa. "We're in the final push. We just need a small capital injection to get us over the hump. $60,000. As a partner, of course. We're projecting a full return in 3 months." I took the proposal from her, the paper heavy and expensive. I flipped through the pages. Projections, market analysis. It all looked perfect. It was worthless. 3 months, I said, closing the binder. That's an ambitious return for a business that doesn't exist. Sabrina's smile didn't falter, but her eyes went cold. The shift was so fast it was almost imperceptible. The concerned daughter-in-law was gone, replaced by the woman I'd seen in the garden. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice still syrupy sweet. "I mean Sabrina. That no legitimate restaurant repays its initial investment in 90 days. I mean, this proposal is a fantasy." I tossed the binder onto the coffee table. "I'm not investing." She stared at me. The silence in the room stretched, thick and heavy. She was recalculating. Finally, she stood up, smoothing her skirt. The smile was gone. "That's a shame, Emmett," she said, her voice dropping, losing its fake warmth. "Donovan will be so disappointed. He really wants to fix things." She walked to the door, then paused, her hand on the antique brass knob. She looked back at me over her shoulder. "You've built an impressive legacy, Emmett. It would be terrible if something happened to it." Her eyes flicked to the bandage on my temple. "This company, this house, it all requires a steady hand. Someone who is adaptable." She opened the door. "You should know, those who don't adapt get replaced." She left, closing the door with a quiet click. I stared at the spot where she'd stood. It wasn't a request. It was a threat. She wasn't just in on it. She was running it. The $60,000 wasn't for a restaurant. It was another payment. My phone vibrated. A text from Gregory Roth. "We have a problem. The LLC is a dead end. But I found something else. Something you need to see. Call me." "The LLC is a ghost," Gregory said, his voice tinny over the secure line. "It was registered by a proxy service, funded with a cashier's check, and dissolved 3 days ago, right after you spoke with Donovan." "So she's covering her tracks," I said, pacing my study. "What's the new problem?" "The tail I put on Donovan. He's not going to high-stakes poker games. He's not meeting with loan sharks. He's meeting with this man." My email chimed. I opened it. A series of long-lens photos. Donovan looking terrified, sitting in his car in a desolate parking garage. He was handing a thick manila envelope to a rough-looking man in a baseball cap. "Who is he?" I asked. "Leland Croft," Gregory replied. "A disgraced real estate developer. He and Donovan were partners on a failed condo project 5 years ago. The one you refused to bail them out of. Croft lost everything. He did 18 months for fraud. He got out 3 months ago." I felt a cold knot in my stomach. "Blackmail." "Looks like it," Gregory said. "Croft blames Donovan for his jail time. He's squeezing him. The photos are from yesterday. Donovan looks like he's about to be sick. This might be your $400,000 problem." A wave of something unexpected washed over me. Not just anger, pity. My son wasn't a monster. He was a victim. He was weak, and this man was preying on him. And Sabrina. She was just trying to help him, in her own misguided, clumsy way. The assault, the lies, it was all the desperate flailing of a man trapped. "Find him," I said. "Find Croft. Set up a meeting." "Emmett, that's not a good idea." "Do it, Gregory. This man is blackmailing my son. I'm going to put a stop to it. I'll pay him off. Find out his price." Gregory was a professional. It took him less than 24 hours to make contact. He met me back at the Viridian Lounge, the place already feeling like my new confessional. "Croft's jumpy," Gregory said, sliding into the booth. "He thinks you're bringing the police." "What's his number?" 50,000. He says it's reparations for his time in prison. He takes the money, he signs a non-disclosure agreement, and he disappears. He never contacts Donovan again. Only 50,000, not $400,000. It didn't add up. "Maybe this is just the first payment," Gregory offered, reading my mind. "Maybe the $400,000 is what he's threatening to sue for. This $50K is just to make him go away now." It made a sick kind of sense. "I'll pay it," I said. "I'm not letting this animal torture my son." "Emmett, let me handle the drop. This guy is bad news." "No, I'm not sending a proxy. This is my family, my mistake. I should have helped Donovan with that project 5 years ago. If I had, this never would have happened. Gregory sighed, rubbing his tired eyes. Fine, but we do it my way. Public place. No briefcase full of cash. It'll be a cashier's check. You sit. I'll be 10 feet away. He gets the check. You get the signed NDA. Anything looks wrong, you walk. Set it up. Tomorrow. The next day, I sat in a crowded downtown food court, the smell of grease and disinfectant in the air. My heart hammered. A cashier's check for $50,000 was in my breast pocket. Gregory was 2 tables over, pretending to read a newspaper. Leland Croft slid into the seat opposite me. He was bigger in person, with a broken nose and mean, empty eyes. "Mr. Volkov," he sneered. "Nice of you to come down from your tower." "I'm here. You have the agreement?" He tossed a folded paper on the table. I read it. A simple, ironclad NDA. I pulled out the check and the pen. "Wait," he said. "Before you sign, you should know. Your son, he's a coward. He was going to let me take the fall for everything. You bailing him out? It's pathetic." "Just sign the paper, Mr. Croft," I said, my voice shaking. "No, I want you to know who you're protecting." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "He's not just a coward, he's stupid. He really thinks this is about me." A cold dread, sharper than the bottle glass, pricked my skin. "What are you talking about?" Croft laughed. "You don't get it, do you? You, the big-shot developer." He pointed a thick finger at his own chest. "I'm an actor, old man. I'm just playing a part." He grabbed the check from my hand. "This," he said, waving it, "is my fee for services rendered." "Services? To who?" Croft smiled, standing up. "My compliments to Mrs. Volkov. She's a damn genius. She said you'd fall for it." He turned and walked away. I was frozen. Gregory was already on his feet, moving to intercept him, but Croft just tossed the check to him. "It's all yours, pal," Croft said. "Fake as a $3 bill." He disappeared into the lunchtime crowd. Gregory came back to the table, his face grim. He held the check. It was a high-quality forgery. "They played us," Gregory whispered. "This was a test, a dry run." She hired him," I said, the words catching in my throat. "She set this all up. She wanted to see if you'd pay to protect Donovan," Gregory said. "She wanted to see if blackmail was a viable angle, and you just showed her it was. She used me to find Croft, and she used you to confirm the strategy." The pity I'd felt for Donovan curdled into a white-hot, focused rage. This wasn't a panicked son or a misguided wife. This was a conspiracy. My $50,000 was gone, not to Croft, but to whatever account Sabrina had him send it to. And I had just proven I was a gullible old fool. "Gregory," I said, my voice deadly quiet, "find everything. I don't care what it costs. I don't care what you have to do. Find the real money pit. Find the $400,000. I want her ruined." The fury from the food court incident fueled a new, relentless phase of the investigation. Gregory Roth, stung by the professional embarrassment of being manipulated, unleashed every resource he had. He stopped looking for blackmailers and started following the money. The real money. A week later, he called me. "I've got it. The Viridian. 1 hour." When I arrived, he wasn't sitting in our usual booth. He was in a small, private back room. He had a laptop open on the table. "You were right," he said, his voice grim. "The blackmail was a sideshow, a brilliant piece of misdirection. The real problem is much, much worse." He turned the laptop around. "It's not a restaurant. It's a casino. The screen showed a grainy, black and white security feed. The timestamp was from 3 nights prior. There was Sabrina, looking radiant in a black evening gown, sitting at a baccarat table. The room was opulent, smoky, and clearly not a legal establishment. Where is that? It's called the Grand Atlas Casino, Gregory said. It's an illegal, high-stakes underground club, invitation only. It moves locations, but it's currently in the basement of a defunct hotel. They cater to high rollers, and they are notoriously ruthless about their debts. He clicked to another file, a spreadsheet. I got this from an informant. It's a list of their outstanding markers. Look. He pointed to a name. D. Volkov. Next to it, a number. $400,000. The number from Father's Day. The number from my son's desperate, drunken plea. He's in debt to them, I whispered. The assault, he was trying to get the money to pay them. He's in debt, Gregory corrected me. But she's the one at the table. I've got 3 nights of footage. Donovan stands by the bar, sweating and drinking. Sabrina plays, and she's good. But she's been losing. Big. She's chasing her losses, and she's using your son's name to get the credit. My mind was reeling. So she's the gambler. He's just the collateral. Exactly. And the Grand Atlas is owned by a very dangerous organization. They don't sue. They send people to your home. Donovan's right to be terrified. This debt is real. They want their money. I stared at the screen, at Sabrina's cold, focused face as she motioned for another card. This is the leverage. This is why she's so desperate. It's part of it, Gregory said, his face dark. But it gets worse, Emmett. How can it possibly get worse? He clicked on an audio file. My informant wasn't just a doorman. He works their internal security. He planted a bug in the VIP room, where Sabrina and Donovan have their discussions. He pressed play. First, Sabrina's voice, cold and sharp. It's not working, Don. He's not budging. The blackmail trick was a cute test, but he's not going to just hand over $500,000. Then, Donovan's. He sounded terrified, his voice thin. Sabrina, we have to tell him. We just tell him the truth. He'll pay it. He's my father. Tell him. A laugh, sharp and cruel. You idiot. If we tell him, he pays the debt, and then he cuts you off forever. He takes away your job, your trust, your name. We'll be left with nothing. No, we don't ask him. We take it. What are you talking about? Take it how? A pause, then Sabrina's voice, low and venomous. He's an old man. He just had a serious head injury. He's been forgetful lately. The attack, your little stunt at the party. It's the perfect predicate. We're not going to ask for the money, darling. We're going to have him declared legally incompetent. The blood drained from my face. I gripped the edge of the table. Incompetent? Donovan whispered. You mean, like a conservatorship? Exactly. We file a petition. We're his loving, concerned family. He just assaulted his own son. He's clearly unstable. He's a danger to himself and his estate. The court appoints a conservator to protect his assets. And who do you think they'll appoint? His only son. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't about a debt. The debt was just the engine. This was a coup. It'll never work, Donovan stammered. He's sharp as a tack. He was, Sabrina hissed. But we have a doctor who will say otherwise, and we have a lawyer, the best. He'll have your father's entire estate signed over to you within 6 weeks. The casino gets paid, and we get everything. Gregory stopped the recording. The silence in the room was deafening. A lawyer, I said, my voice hoarse. She has a lawyer. She does, Gregory said. He opened another file, a new photo. This one was from 2 days ago. Sabrina at an upscale restaurant, laughing and shaking hands with a man in an immaculate, expensive suit. Clarence Underwood, Gregory said. He's a specialist. He finds wealthy families with aging patriarchs, allies with a disgruntled heir, and uses the court system to strip them of their assets. He's a predator, and he's untouchable. I looked at the picture. Sabrina. Underwood. They were toasting. The $400,000, I said, the pieces clicking into place with sickening clarity. It's not just the gambling debt, it's Underwood's fee. Or the casino owners, or both, Gregory said. It's the price of the takeover. They're all in it together. The casino applies the pressure, Underwood provides the legal weapon, and Sabrina and Donovan get the kingdom. They're planning to use the Father's Day assault and the faked blackmail payment as their evidence that you're losing your mind, that you're unstable. My own son, my blood, agreeing to have me labeled as senile, as incompetent, all to pay a gambling debt and steal his own inheritance. The rage I'd felt at the food court was nothing. This was a cold, pure void. The man I'd raised, the boy I'd taught to ride a bike, was gone. In his place was a puppet, and Sabrina was the one pulling the strings. Emmett, Gregory said, his voice soft. You need to act. Fast. You need a lawyer of your own. You need to fight this. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly on the floor. I felt strangely calm. The shock had passed, replaced by an icy resolve. Oh, I'll fight it, I said, but not the way they think. They want to play a game? They want to use the law? I walked to the door. They have no idea what they just started. They think I'm an old, frail man. They're about to find out how wrong they are. The next few days were a blur of cold fury. I hired the best legal team in Austin. Walter Pierce, a bulldog litigator, and Rebecca Dunn, a razor-sharp financial strategist. I sat with them in their high-rise office, the entire city spread out below us, and I played them the recording. Walter listened, his face impassive. Rebecca took notes, her pen flying. When it was over, Walter steepled his fingers. This is more than a conservatorship battle, Emmett. This is criminal conspiracy, fraud, attempted elder abuse. But they're smart. Underwood is a snake. He'll have buried everything in paperwork. We need more, Rebecca said. We need a direct link between Underwood and the Grand Atlas. Right now, all we have is a recording of your son and daughter-in-law claiming he's involved. Underwood will deny it. He'll say he's just a concerned lawyer acting on behalf of a worried son. Gregory Roth had hit the same wall. Underwood's clean, he reported, frustrated. His firm has no connection to the casino's holding companies. He's too smart to be on their payroll. I can't get inside the casino's executive office. The place is a fortress. We were stuck. We had the motive, we had the plot. But we couldn't tie the gun to the trigger man. Then, 3 days later, Gregory called me. You're not going to believe this. I've been contacted. Someone from inside the Grand Atlas. We met at the Viridian. Gregory was with a man I'd never seen before. He was in his late 40s, wearing a well-cut but nervous expression. This is Miles, Gregory said. He's a mid-level manager at the casino. Mr. Volkov, Miles said, his voice low. He didn't offer his hand. I don't like you. I don't like old money developers, but I hate Clarence Underwood more. You know him? I asked. A shadow passed over Miles's face. I know him. 5 years ago, my father had a stroke. He was recovering. He was lucid. But my sister-in-law, she hired Underwood. They did the same thing to him, declared him incompetent. They liquidated his assets, his home, everything, and stuck him in a state-run facility. He died there. I've been waiting for a chance to burn Underwood to the ground ever since. Why now? Why me? Because I saw Sabrina Thorne meeting with him in our owner's private office. I knew he was doing it again. And this time, you have the resources to stop him. He slid a small USB drive across the table. This is from the owner's private office, security footage. From 1 week ago. I looked at Gregory, who nodded. We plugged it into the laptop. It was shaky, silent footage, but it was undeniable. There was Sabrina, there was Clarence Underwood, and there, at the head of the table, was the owner of the Grand Atlas himself. They were all laughing. Underwood was passing a document to the owner, who signed it. He's not just their lawyer, Miles said. He's their partner. He uses the casino to find targets, and the casino uses him to collect their debts. They're a syndicate. This is the proof you need. I looked at the man, this unexpected ally. This is incredibly dangerous for you. What do you want? I want him disbarred. I want him in a cell. I want you to win, Miles said. He stood up. Don't contact me again. Just use it and destroy him. He walked out. I picked up the USB drive. It was heavy. It was the key. I was with Rebecca, planning the first financial counter-moves, when my personal cell rang. It was Sylvia. Her name flashed on the screen, and my heart seized. In all of this, I hadn't even thought about the danger to her. Sylvia? Honey, are you okay? Dad, she whispered. Her voice was trembling, but it was edged with a familiar, steely anger. I need to see you. Now. Not at the house. Not at your office. Somewhere public. The coffee shop near the hospital. What's wrong? Are you hurt? No, I'm furious and I'm scared. I just left Donovan and Sabrina. They contacted you? I said, my blood running cold. Yes. They came to the hospital. They wanted me to join them. Dad, they're trying to steal everything from you. Sylvia, listen to me. I know all of it. There was a stunned silence on the line. You know? How? It's a long story. I'm on my way. Don't talk to anyone. I found her in a corner booth, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup she hadn't touched. Her face was pale. Dad, it was monstrous, she said, the words spilling out. They sat there in the hospital cafeteria and told me you were losing your mind. They used the attack. They said you've been unstable for months, that you're a danger to the company. I know, honey. They had papers, Dad. Legal documents. They said they're filing a petition. They have a lawyer, a Clarence Underwood. I know him. She looked at me, her eyes wide. They wanted me to sign as the concerned daughter. They said with my signature as a doctor, the court would approve it instantly. They said we could protect you. She was shaking with rage. I told them I'd think about it. I pretended to be on their side. I acted worried. I asked them questions. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. I recorded it, Dad. The whole thing. She pressed play. I heard Sabrina's smooth, poisonous voice explaining the legal process. I heard Donovan mumbling about how this was for the best, how I'd be taken care of. Then Sylvia's voice, feigning confusion. But is this legal? What if Dad fights it? And Sabrina laughing. He can't fight it, honey. We already have the medical evaluation, and once we're in control, we can move the assets. He'll be comfortable. He just won't be in charge anymore. Sylvia stopped the recording. That's not all. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. While Donovan was getting us coffee, Sabrina showed me this. It's a copy of the medical evaluation. It's from some doctor I've never heard of. It's a complete fabrication. She was so arrogant, she let me look at it. I took a picture of it with my phone. And this. She pulled out a business card. Clarence Underwood, specialist in asset protection. She gave me this, Sylvia whispered. She told me to call him if I had any legal questions. Dad, they're trying to bury you. I reached across the table and put my hand on hers. Her hands were cold, but mine were steady. For the first time in weeks, I felt a genuine warmth. They're not going to, I said. Because you, my brilliant daughter, just became our secret weapon. Her eyes met mine, the fear replaced by a fierce, familiar fire. What do? We form an alliance. You're going to call them back. You're going to tell them you're in. You're going to be the concerned daughter. You are going to get them to trust you completely. And you are going to be the one who tears them down from the inside. A slow smile spread across her face. A double agent. I like it. This is our war room, Sylvia, I said. And you just brought us the final piece of the map. The next morning, my legal team met again. This time, Sylvia was with us. She laid out her phone, the business card, and her story. Walter Pierce listened, and for the first time, he smiled. It was not a kind smile. This, he said, tapping Sylvia's phone, is the ball game. They've actively tried to recruit a family member into a conspiracy. That's not just a civil matter. That's a criminal one. Rebecca Dunn nodded. And the fraudulent medical report? That's wire fraud, mail fraud, and grounds for immediate disbarment for Underwood. So we have them, I said. We have the beginning, Walter corrected me. Right now it's a recording. They'll say Sylvia is lying, that she's the one trying to steal the money. We need more. We need to set a trap, a three-pronged counterattack. Prong 1, Rebecca said, is financial. We protect the assets, all of them, now. Prong 2, Walter continued, is legal. We build an ironclad case for your lucidity. We get our own evaluations. We discredit theirs before they even file it. And prong 3, I said, looking at Sylvia, is intelligence. My daughter. Our inside woman. Sylvia leaned forward. What do you need me to do? You're going to call Sabrina, Walter said. You're going to tell her you're worried, but you're in. You'll agree to meet with Underwood. Gregory Roth will have you wired for sound and video. We need them to explain the entire plan on camera. We need them to boast. We're no longer just defending Emmett, Rebecca said, her eyes glinting. We're on the offense. They think they're hunting a frail old man. We're going to let them walk right into a steel cage. They're building their case on the idea that you're unstable, Walter said, pacing his office. We're going to dismantle it, brick by brick, before they can even lay the foundation. The first call was to Dr. Aris Thorne, the most respected neurogeriatrist in Texas. He was clinical, impartial, and famously unbuyable. He won't be cheap, Walter warned. I don't care, I said. Book him. The next day, I wasn't a CEO. I was a patient. I spent 4 hours in Dr. Thorne's sterile, quiet office. He put me through a grueling battery of tests. Memory recall, logic puzzles, complex financial hypotheticals, executive function drills. He was impassive, his face giving nothing away. I simply answered every question clearly, calmly, and honestly. At the end, he leaned back, looking at his notes. "Mr. Volkov," he said, "I've read the report. Your daughter-in-law's lawyer is shopping around." He scoffed. "It's a work of fiction, fraudulent and, frankly, insulting." He ripped a page from his notepad and began to write. "My official evaluation is this. Your cognitive function is not just sound, it is in the 98th percentile for your age group. You are fully lucid, possess superior executive function, and are in no way, shape, or form incompetent. Any court that sees this will laugh their petition out of the room." Walter had the certified, notarized report within an hour. This, he said, is our shield. Now for the sword." "Right now, your estate is vulnerable," Rebecca Dunn explained, her laptop projecting a complex flowchart onto the wall. "Your assets are in standard accounts. A temporary conservatorship order, even a fraudulent one, could freeze everything, including the funds you need to fight them." "So what do we do?" I asked. "We make the money disappear." She smiled. "Legally." We spent the next 48 hours in a whirlwind of financial restructuring. Rebecca drafted the Volkov Family Irrevocable Trust. "It's an ironclad fortress," she explained. "We are going to transfer the bulk of your estate, $3.3 million, into this trust. You will be the sole trustee. The only way you can be removed is if 3 independent, court-appointed physicians declare you incompetent. Not one, and not one hired by your son." I signed the papers. I transferred the properties, the stock portfolios, the development holdings. The entire structure of Volkov Developments was now owned by the trust. "What do we leave out?" I asked. "The bait," Rebecca said, her eyes gleaming. "We leave your primary checking accounts and 1 brokerage account visible, totaling about $800,000. $800,000? Exactly. Enough to look like the main prize. Enough to make them greedy. They will file their petition, thinking they're grabbing the whole pie. But the pie will already be gone. They'll be fighting over crumbs, and they'll be committing documented fraud to do it." It was brilliant. It was ruthless. It was perfect. "When they file," Rebecca said, "they'll be petitioning to control accounts that are, for all intents and purposes, nearly empty, and they'll be lying to a federal judge to do it." This was the hardest part, the part that went against every instinct in my body. "For the next phase, Emmett, you have to disappear," Walter instructed. "You are no longer the CEO of Volkov Developments. You are a confused, frail old man. The man they think you are. You want me to act? I want you to be the perfect victim," Walter said. "They're building a narrative. We're going to help them. Let them think they're winning." I stopped going to the office. I told Martin to handle all operations. I let my personal grooming slip. I took to walking in the gardens of the Redwood estate, but at odd hours. I forgot to bring in the mail. I lost my keys and had to call a locksmith, making sure my nosy neighbor saw the entire exchange. I let calls from old friends go to voicemail. When I'd call back a day later, I'd sound confused. "Oh, did you call? I don't recall." The whispers started almost immediately. "Did you hear about Emmett Volkov? Ever since that attack, he's not been the same." Sylvia played her part too. She'd talked to mutual family friends, her voice full of concern. "I'm worried about Dad. He seems so forgetful. I don't know what to do." The rumors were bait, and I knew Sabrina would be listening. I was seeding the ground, confirming the lies she was already telling. I was validating her entire plan. I hated it. Every second of it. Every feigned senior moment felt like a betrayal of who I was. "It's working," Gregory reported. "My surveillance shows Sabrina and Underwood meeting twice this week. They're accelerating their timeline. They think you're deteriorating fast." "Good," I said, my voice quiet. "Let the vultures circle. They'll be so focused on the dying animal, they'll never see the trap spring." The ruse culminated a week later. Sabrina appeared at the gates of the Redwood estate, unannounced. My housekeeper buzzed me, her voice worried. "Mr. Volkov, it's Mrs. Volkov. She says she was just in the neighborhood. She seems insistent." "Let her in, Maria," I said. I was in the garden, wearing an old robe, my hair uncombed. I watched her approach, her heels sinking slightly into the soft grass. She was dressed to perfection, a picture of sunny concern. "Emmett!" she called out, her voice dripping with false sympathy. "I was just driving by and wanted to see how you were. I've been so worried." I squinted at her, as if trying to place her. "Sabrina? Is that you, my dear? What a surprise." I saw her eyes flick over my robe, my messy hair. I saw the micro-expression of triumph. "Oh, Emmett," she said, resting her hand on my arm. "You're not looking well. Are you remembering to eat?" "Eat? Yes, I think so. Maria handles that. The days just seem to blend. It's this head of mine. Ever since the accident." I let my hand tremble slightly as I gestured to my temple. Sabrina's smile was pure saccharine poison. She was lapping it up. I know. Donovan and I are so worried. Sylvia, too. We just want to make sure you're taken care of." That's very kind, dear," I said, playing the part of the confused patriarch. "Very kind. You're a good girl." "You just rest, Emmett," she said, patting my arm. "Don't you worry about a thing. We're going to handle everything. Very, very soon." She practically glided back to her car. She didn't look back. She didn't need to. She had seen what she came to see. The moment her car was out of the gates, I went back inside. I picked up the phone and dialed Gregory. "She took the bait," I said, my voice no longer trembling. "She's convinced. She thinks I'm finished." "Good," Gregory's voice came back. "Because Sylvia's meeting is set. Tomorrow. With Underwood. We're going to get it all." The next afternoon, I sat in the back of Gregory Roth's anonymous surveillance van, parked across the street from a sterile, glass-walled coffee shop. The van was hot, cramped, and smelled of stale coffee. But I didn't care. I was wearing an earpiece, connected to the high-fidelity microphone and button cam concealed on Sylvia. "Audio and video are live," Gregory murmured, his eyes on a bank of monitors. Sylvia walked in, looking nervous. It was the perfect touch. Donovan and Sabrina were already at a table. "Sylvia, you came." Sabrina's voice was bright in my ear. I'm still not sure about all this," Sylvia said, her voice trembling just enough. "Honey, it's a formality," Sabrina soothed. He's not well. We saw him yesterday. He was a mess. This is a kindness. We're protecting him." "But the court? A lawyer?" "That's why we're here," Donovan piped up a little too eagerly. On the monitor, I saw Clarence Underwood approach the table, smiling like a televangelist. "Dr. Volkov, a pleasure. I'm Clarence Underwood. I'm so glad you've decided to do the right thing for your father." They sat. Underwood opened his briefcase. "As I explained to your brother," Underwood said, his voice smooth and reptilian, The legal standard for a conservatorship is inability to manage one's own affairs. Given your father's recent assault, his blackmail payment, and his documented memory loss, which you, as a physician, can attest to, this is a slam dunk. So what happens? Sylvia asked, leaning in. The camera feed captured a perfect view of the documents he was spreading on the table. Simple, Sabrina said, her arrogance shining. The judge signs the temporary order. Donovan, will be appointed conservator. We'll have full control of all of Volkov Development's assets. All of them? Sylvia asked. Every last dollar. Underwood confirmed. We've already drawn up the liquidation papers. The $800,000 in his main accounts will cover my fee and our friends at the Grand Atlas. The rest, the $3.3 million in property and stocks, will be transferred to a new holding company managed by your brother. He tapped the document. He's a shadow, Sylvia. He won't even know it's happening. By the time he realizes, his name won't be on a single thing. It's clean, it's fast, and it's permanent. We just need your signature, Donovan urged, pushing a pen toward her, to show the family is united. I watched my daughter look at the pen, then at her brother. I need to use the restroom, she stammered. I'll be right back. She stood and walked away. We've got it, Gregory whispered, his fingers flying, saving the files. Conspiracy to commit fraud, intent, a fraudulent medical document, and a confession. We've got it all. I pulled the earpiece out. My hands were perfectly steady. Call Walter, I said. Tell him the trap is sprung. Now, we just have to summon the guests. I spent the next morning in my study. But I wasn't the frail old man. I was showered, shaved, and dressed in one of my sharpest suits. I felt the familiar weight of my father's watch on my wrist. I was Emmett Volkov again. At 10 a.m., I made the call. Donovan picked up on the third ring, his voice wary. Dad? Is everything okay? You haven't been answering. I'm fine, son, I said, my voice warm but with an edge of confusion. Just a little mixed up lately. Listen, Sabrina and Sylvia have been talking to me about my affairs. They're right. I'm tired. I can't keep track of it all. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. He was hooked. Dad, are you sure? Yes, I am. I want to do the right thing. I want you to help me. Can you, Sabrina, and that lawyer, Mr. Underwood? Can you come to the house? This afternoon? Say 2 p.m.? We'll sign the papers. Whatever you think is best. Silence. He was stunned. They had been prepared for a fight, a long, drawn-out legal battle. They never anticipated a surrender. Yes, Dad. Of course, he stammered. We'll be there, 2 p.m. Don't you worry about a thing. We'll take care of everything. I know you will, son, I said, and hung up. I buzzed my housekeeper. Maria, I'm expecting 3 guests at 2 p.m. My son, his wife, and their lawyer. Please show them into the formal study. And Maria, my other associates will be arriving at 2:15. They'll be waiting in the library. Do not announce them. Yes, Mr. Volkov. I looked out the window. It was a beautiful, clear Austin day. A perfect day for an execution. At 2 p.m. on the dot, the doorbell rang. I watched from my study window as they walked up the path. Donovan, trying to look somber. Underwood, carrying a pristine leather briefcase. And Sabrina, practically vibrating with triumph, that same cold smile from the garden party playing on her lips. Maria showed them in. Dad, Donovan said, rushing to my side. You look better. He seemed almost disappointed. I have my good days, son. Please sit. Underwood stepped forward, all professional charm. Mr. Volkov, I'm Clarence Underwood. It's a pleasure. I'm so glad we can resolve this amicably. It shows great wisdom on your part. Yes, well, I said, gesturing to the papers he was pulling from his briefcase. Let's get to it. They sat across from my large mahogany desk. Sabrina's eyes were already scanning the room, appraising the art on the walls. It's all very standard, Underwood said, spreading the documents. This is the conservatorship petition. This is the durable power of attorney. This is the medical affidavit, which Dr. Volkov has graciously agreed to support. You just sign here, here, and here. He pushed the stack toward me, along with an expensive fountain pen. I looked at the signature lines. I looked at the three of them, their faces a mask of feigned, respectful concern. They were predators, waiting for the final, killing bite. I smiled. I pushed the papers and the pen back across the desk. No, I said, my voice no longer confused but clear and strong, ringing with the authority they hadn't heard in weeks. The three of them froze. Sabrina's smile faltered. Emmett. What? What's wrong? You, I said, leaning forward. You're what's wrong, Underwood's eyes narrowed. Mr. Volkov, I advise you. You advise me? I cut him off. Let me advise you, Mr. Underwood. Your plan to liquidate $3.3 million from the Volkov Trust. It's going to be difficult, because as of 3 days ago, the Trust's assets are no longer accessible to you, or anyone else. Donovan's face went white. Underwood's mask of charm dropped, revealing the snake beneath. What are you talking about? And that $800,000 you were planning to use to pay your fee? That bait? I smiled. I'm afraid that's tied up as well. You knew? Sabrina whispered, her voice hoarse. I know everything. I reached down and pressed a button on my desk intercom. A small speaker crackled to life, and Underwood's voice filled the room. The $3.3 million in property and stocks will be transferred to a new holding company managed by your brother. He's a shadow. He won't even know it's happening. Sabrina let out a small, strangled gasp. Donovan looked like he was going to be sick. That's a high-quality recording, isn't it? I said. The video is even better. Sylvia is quite the actress. Almost as good as your friend, Mr. Croft. I stood up. I know about the Grand Atlas Casino. I know about the $400,000 debt. I know about the faked medical report, the conspiracy to commit fraud, and the meetings with the casino owner. I have the USB drive from his private office, Mr. Underwood. The one showing you signing partnership papers. Sabrina's face contorted in pure, unadulterated hatred. You old... She lunged across the desk, her hands clawed, aiming for my face. She never made it. The study doors flew open. Sabrina froze, her arm still in the air. Walter Pierce and Rebecca Dunn walked in. They were not alone. Behind them stood two grim-faced Austin police detectives. Clarence Underwood, Sabrina Thorne, Donovan Volkov, the lead detective said, his voice booming in the suddenly silent room. You are all under arrest for conspiracy to commit fraud, wire fraud, and attempted financial elder abuse. One detective cuffed a stunned, paralyzed Underwood. The other moved toward Sabrina. Donovan just slumped in his chair, his body seeming to collapse. Dad, he whispered, his eyes finally meeting mine. They were full of tears. Dad, I didn't, she made me. Stop, I said, my voice flat, devoid of all emotion. You're a grown man, Donovan. You made your choice. You stood by and let this happen. You agreed to it. Please, Dad, please don't let them, he cried as the detective pulled him to his feet. I looked at my son, the man who had smashed a bottle over my head and then plotted to steal my life's work. You should have thought of that on Father's Day, I said. The war is over. You lost. They were led out of my study, out of my house. I stood at the window and watched them being put into the back of the police cars. I saw Sylvia standing on the lawn, her arms crossed, watching them go. Walter placed a hand on my shoulder. It's done, Emmett. I nodded, feeling nothing but a vast, hollow emptiness. Yes, I said. It's done. 2 months later, I sat on a hard wooden bench in the Travis County Courthouse. The room was packed. The story of the Volkov conspiracy had been front-page news. I was in the front row, with Sylvia's hand resting on mine. Walter and Rebecca sat beside me. Across the aisle sat the 3 defendants, looking pale and diminished in ill-fitting suits, their high-priced lawyers shuffling papers. The district attorney was masterful. He laid out the entire case, piece by piece, like a surgeon. He played Sylvia's recording. The entire courtroom listened, silent, to Sabrina's arrogant, venomous plan. He played the security footage from the Grand Atlas, showing Underwood, Sabrina, and the casino owner toasting their partnership. And then he called his surprise witness. The prosecution calls Miles Jansen to the stand. The man who had given me the USB drive walked to the stand. He looked calm, his hands steady. He detailed under oath how Underwood and the casino had a long-standing, predatory partnership. "And can you tell me, Mr. Jansen," the DA asked, "why you are testifying today? What personal knowledge do you have of Mr. Underwood's methods?" Miles looked directly at Underwood. 5 years ago, this man, Clarence Underwood, used the exact same incompetent scam to steal my father's estate. My father died penniless in a state home. I am here to make sure he never does that to another family again. The courtroom erupted. The judge hammered his gavel for order. Underwood's lawyer was on his feet objecting, but it was too late. The jury had heard it. We didn't have to wait long. After the closing arguments, Walter's was a particularly brilliant, cold evisceration of the defendant's misguided love defense. The jury was out for less than an hour. The room was silent as the judge read the verdict. On the charge of conspiracy to commit fraud, guilty. On the charge of wire fraud, guilty. On the charge of attempted financial elder abuse, guilty. For all 3. The judge, a woman known for her severity, looked at them over her glasses. "Mr. Underwood, you are a disgrace to the bar. You preyed on the vulnerable. You are sentenced to 4 years in state prison and permanent disbarment. Mrs. Thorne, you were the architect of this entire monstrous plot. You manipulated your husband and showed a chilling lack of humanity. You are sentenced to 3 years in state prison." Sabrina stared, her mouth open in disbelief. "And Mr. Volkov?" The judge sighed, looking at Donovan. "You betrayed the man who gave you life. You stood by and participated in a plot to destroy him. You are sentenced to 5 years in state prison." 5 years, more than Sabrina, because as the judge noted, he had committed the ultimate betrayal. He had been the one to swing the bottle. Chaos. Sabrina was screaming, accusing Donovan of being a weak, pathetic fool who ruined everything. Underwood was stoic, his face a mask of stone. Donovan just stood there, crying silently as the bailiffs cuffed him. His eyes found mine across the room. I stood up. Walter tried to stop me, but I shook my head. I walked across the aisle until I was standing directly in front of my son. He flinched, as if expecting me to hit him. I just looked at him, my heart a cold, heavy stone in my chest. "I'm not angry anymore, Donovan," I said, my voice so quiet only he could hear it. "I'm just sad. I'm sad you never learned what I tried to teach you. That honor and family, those are the only things you build that last. And you tore yours down for nothing." "Dad, please," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "I know," I said. "But sorry doesn't fix this." I turned and walked away. Sylvia met me at the door, and we stepped out into the bright, unforgiving sunlight. I didn't look back. A year passed. The Redwood estate was quiet. The whispers had stopped, replaced by a respectful silence. The $800,000 I'd left as bait had been recovered after the trial. I didn't want it. I sat with Sylvia in my study. "I want to use it," I told her. "All of it, and more. I want to start a foundation." 2 months later, we cut the ribbon on the Volkov Family Dignity Foundation. Its mission was simple: to provide free, high-level legal aid to elderly individuals who were being targeted by predatory conservatorship scams. Sylvia ran it. She was brilliant, compassionate, and absolutely ruthless in the courtroom. She used her medical knowledge to tear apart fraudulent evaluations and her newfound legal passion to protect people who couldn't protect themselves. I found a new purpose, not in building skyscrapers, but in funding this fight. We had saved dozens of families from the same fate I'd so narrowly avoided. My pain had been forged into a shield for others. One Tuesday morning, a letter arrived. The return address was the J.P. Dale State Correctional Facility. My hands trembled as I opened it. The handwriting was neat, practiced. It was from Donovan. "Dad, I don't know if you'll read this. I don't deserve it, but I'm getting out early. Good behavior. I've been in therapy here. I've been sober for 18 months. I'm not writing to ask for forgiveness. I know I can't have it. I'm not writing to ask for money or a job. I don't want any of it. I'm writing to say thank you. I was a coward. I was weak. I let Sabrina and the debt and the casino. I let it all turn me into a monster. When you stood in that courtroom, I hated you. But now, I understand. You didn't destroy my life, Dad. You saved it. You stopped me from becoming someone I could never come back from. I'm going to be released in 3 months. I'm not coming back to Austin. I'm going to try and build something. On my own, clean. I just wanted you to know that." I folded the letter. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel joy. I felt a quiet, a sense of an ending. I walked to my desk and placed the letter in a drawer. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was peace. That evening, Sylvia came by the estate. We sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the Austin hills, the same view as that horrible Father's Day 2 years ago. "You heard?" she asked, knowing I'd gotten the letter. "I heard," I said. We sat in comfortable silence, sipping iced tea. The breeze rustled the rose bushes, Adeline's roses, which I'd replanted. "You built something amazing, Dad," Sylvia said, gesturing not to the house but to the city, to the foundation. "No, we did," I corrected her. I raised my glass. "They tried to take everything. Our name, our money, our home." I looked at her, my daughter, my partner, my ally. "But we're still here, and they're gone." I've learned, Sylvia, after all this, living well isn't just the best revenge. It's the only one that matters. She smiled and raised her glass. to living well. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. The war was over, and for the first time in a long, long time, my heart was at peace. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here,